It was earlier this week. And she said to me, the main thing that stuck with me that you have said is that anything that gets in the way of the life that I want to live is clutter.
Welcome back to the Sunshine Cafe. I'm Lisa Roars, your host, and hey, thanks for joining me today. I'm here just to pour some positive back into your day with practical tips and stories to encourage and inspire. So let's dive in. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Sunshine Cafe. I am Lisa Roars, your host, and today Amy Slenker-Smith is back. Her decluttered and organized tips for putting margin back into our lives is making a difference for all of us. She is the decluttering coach and the voice behind the inspiring blog, Simply Enough. And through that blog, she helps people simplify their homes and their calendars and their lives with practical, grace-filled guidance. Through her coaching program and countless articles, Amy proves that even the most overwhelmed or unmotivated person can find freedom and clarity starting right where they are. Her work has been featured in Forbes, Becoming Minimalist, No Sidebar, Optimal Living Daily, and Redfin. Today, she's here to help us unclutter and make space in our lives so we can live the life we truly want to live. So let's dive in. We have her back again. We've got Amy Slenker-Smith back again, and I know you guys are going to love her the second time just as much as you did the first. She is my dear friend who helps all of us declutter and organize to create space in our calendars and our homes and our minds for the things that really matter. And I just love her to pieces. Love her, love her. Amy Slenker-Smith, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me back. What an honor and a joy. I know our conversation last time was so much fun, and I expect this will be the same. And hopefully, your listeners will get just as much as they did the first time. So, thanks for having me back.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I think the whole topic of decluttering and figuring out how to minimize, whether it's clothing in the closet that's been hanging there for years and decades, or two, maybe. I'm not that I'm relating with that. Or maybe it's, the little trinkets that we have on our shelves that we got
Yeah.
on the high school trip 20 years ago that we don't necessarily need to hold on to anymore. It's really hard to discern what things to keep and what things to let go of and what things
Yeah.
bring us joy. But it's a really good message. And this is the thing I love about what you do. The message of less is actually so much more,
Yeah.
that the less we have that is weighing us down opens up so much more clarity and space for peace. And so let's talk a little bit about that. How does the decluttering work that you do impact people that you work with?
Yeah, it's funny as you were just starting to ask that question, you were talking about it getting in the way. It made me think about this conversation that I just had with a client. And it was earlier this week. And what she said to me was, she said, Amy, the main thing that stuck with me that you have said is that anything that gets in the way of the life that I want to live is clutter. And so she's like, I'm really living by that mantra right now. And I thought, wow, that's powerful. And yes, I did say that actually. So I'm like, but it was interesting. It's always interesting to hear it from other people, like what they connect with.
Mhm.
And so for her, she is a mom of two young kids. She runs her own business and she works largely out of her home. She has a very successful business, other people who work for her. But when I said everything that gets in the way is clutter, she's looking at not just the physical items and the stuff, but she is looking at like how she manages her calendar, the things that she's taking on that she wants to take on. She's very healthy. She goes to the gym several times a week. She's like, I go to this gym because it has childcare for my kids. So that's one less obstacle on the calendar. So I like to help people think of clutter as not just the physical stuff, but sometimes it is just the complications in our lives that prevent us from doing the things that we want to do. So for her going to the gym, it was her calendar and how could she make sure she got there. When it's cooking healthy meals for your family, it's clean, empty kitchen counters. It's also really nice to drop grocery bags on an empty counter, and it's a whole lot easier to put those away if you don't have to kind of clean up the kitchen first or clean the fridge first, or, when you rearrange the fridge to try and stick the groceries in there, and then you wonder if you really needed to go grocery shopping in the first place, because there's not a lot of room.
If I had known I had celery 2 weeks ago, I would have actually used it. Now it's dead and I gotta throw it away.
Exactly. So that's how I talk about the decluttering and minimizing process. It is more about what's standing in the way of the life you really want to live. And for everyone that's different, but getting to the heart of that with all of my clients, what their real why is always a fun place to start and a much more effective way to start once they have their eye on the prize for what it is that they want. So hopefully that answered your question.
Absolutely. I think it's a unique thing for women in some respects because we have this tendency to just want to always take on more. Sure, I can do that. Yes, I can do that. Of course, I can do that. Yes, I'll help with that. But I think we do need to pause to say, just because we can doesn't mean we should. And
Right.
it doesn't make you a bad person if you're not saying yes to everything. I
Hmm.
do have some people who I know I have sweet friends in my life who literally will say yes to anything, and I know that about them.
Hmm.
And that's their love language in some respects. That's what really serves their spirit. But
Yeah.
there does come a point where there's so many things in your life that you're not able to do, like you were saying, the things that really do feed your soul. So
Yeah.
there's a good requirement there to kind of level check that once in a while and say, okay, should I say yes to this or do I need to tell this person I have to think about it? I'll get back to them.
Yeah, absolutely. What you just said there about kind of having guilt about letting go of things, guilt about saying no. Another one of my coaching clients I was talking to this week, a lot of them were diving into calendar, we're diving into more than just the stuff.
Hmm.
And in particular, her question this week, or the conversation with her, was very centered around, and I know you do a lot of volunteering in your church and you do a lot to serve there, just like I do. And that's the space where she is finding she's serving a lot and she's starting to feel a little burnt out. And I think that that's happened to many of us, where we're
Hmm.
serving in a space, we're maybe volunteering with something for a long time, and then we start to think, maybe this isn't my season. Maybe this isn't where God is calling me this time. And so she's got something else that's non-church related she's feeling called to. And so what we were really talking about is, if she takes on this new thing she's being called to, is there anything that she needs to maybe let go of, that maybe
Hmm.
it's not her season anymore? And I think when you do a volunteer role that you've done for such a long time, or any kind of role you've done for a long time, whether it's in your profession or not, you feel like, gosh, how could I possibly stop doing this? This makes me a bad person if I
Mm.
stop, if I stop teaching Sunday school or whatever it may be. And I challenge the thinking on that because I've had that season in my life a couple of times. And sometimes, it's our season, I think, where we need to be fed, where we need to lean into what God wants us to learn. And maybe we need to follow instead of lead.
Hmm.
And I also, something my husband and I talk about a lot is, when we have stepped out of things that we're doing at church, we always remember that we're creating an opportunity for someone else to step up. We're creating
Exactly.
an opportunity that someone else maybe thought that they weren't prepared for, but
Mm.
we know God prepares you for it. So it's
Mhm.
it's no big deal. You're gonna be prepared for it. And so I find that with a lot of the folks I'm talking to, we're digging deeper than just the stuff. We're talking about calendars. We're talking about not just the guilt of letting go of a physical item or a sentimental item, but letting go of something that, it goes as deep as it being like your identity,
Mm.
your identity of being that person. And it's, right now, as you know, we launched my son last year, and we are busy with 4 aging parents, and we get to spend that time with them, and we get to take care of them. But that also means it's not my season to do some other things that I have done in the past.
Sure.
And it's okay to say no to that, because it means I can say yes to this season of leaning
Mhm.
in a space where I'm needed, and someone else is gonna have an opportunity. So hopefully, it's interesting we went there. I wasn't even thinking that would be a part of our conversation today, but I'm so glad it was.
Yeah. Well, I think the clutter around our homes and on the shelves or in our closet is a really easy visual thing to see. And so it's almost the one that we all end up going to first, obviously. And people have a real problem with trying to let go of some of their stuff, the material things.
Yeah.
But what you're talking about with the space in the calendar and the things that we're committing to are sometimes the sneaky things that take our time away. It's not front and center. We don't necessarily realize that, oh, that's the thing that's taking the time away that I could have to do the other things that I need to do in life or want to do in life.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
one of the things you mentioned about volunteering that I think is a really key lesson, and it's something that I try to do with things when I do volunteer, or when I do start setting up an accountability meeting or whatever it might be. At the time I start, I set an end point for myself.
Oh, interesting. I like that.
Is.
Okay.
Even if it's an ongoing thing, 3 months from today, let's plan to talk about whether this is still working. Should we still continue this kind of a meeting?
I
Do
love
I
that.
want to, yeah, do I want to continue volunteering in this? And tell the person that you're volunteering, I will commit to 3 months, or I will commit to 1 month or 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
And then
Yes.
at that point, that's your commitment point. You say, okay, I think I'm okay to go for another month. And I think that kind of process will help keep people from getting burnt out or stuck in a like a one-on-one accountability meeting where you kind of not getting served anymore and you don't
Right.
know how to get out of it. So that's
Very
something that's helped me a lot.
Oh, that's really great. I think I unintentionally did that very recently where I had signed on to something that I agreed that, okay, I was like, okay, I think I definitely could do this for the next year. But if some things bubble up with our family, I might need some grace. I might need to Zoom into these meetings. I might not be able to attend in person. And so I think just setting those expectations up front and being okay with creating boundaries, with getting organized, with simplifying our lives, a lot of that comes down to setting these boundaries, not just for our physical stuff, but the commitments. So if it's something that we're saying yes to, we want it to be something that we're so excited about and that is something we're looking forward to and that we don't dread. And I also like to put all those through some filters. So that's just
Mm.
another way to set my boundaries. So does it fall within my values? Does it fall within my filters of faith, family, friends, health, and generosity? And if it goes through those filters and hits at least one of them, then it probably belongs on my calendar. And if it doesn't, then I'm going to ask the question long and hard, like, does it belong here? And you can do the same thing with your physical possessions. So there will be things in my home that allow me to serve my friends, that allow me to serve my family, that allow me to focus on my health, that allow me to be generous. And so all of those things are of highest priority to stay.
Mhm.
But if they don't fall into one of those 5 filters, then they're probably a candidate for me putting it in the car and donating it.
Right. And much like the volunteer opportunity, letting somebody else enjoy that.
Yes, 100%,
Yeah.
100%, yeah.
Ah,
Not holding on to it and not preventing it from being useful to someone else.
right. Okay, so with all of the amazing people you've worked with, how does a busy family start to work toward less craziness when you've got lots of kids and you've got lots of sports and you've got all the different commitments? Maybe we can touch on the calendar side of that because I'm
Yep,
sure we're into the summer months here. Summer is kind of a downtime. And yet, I know plenty of friends and family members who have their kids are just going 17 different directions all summer long as well. So
yeah.
how do we give those opportunities that we want to our children while still maintaining a little bit of sanity in the home?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly I wanna answer this from my perspective, but I recognize that I had the privilege to be able to work from home,
Yeah.
and that meant summers, and so there are families who need the camps and the care and things like that because they're going into an office full time, and it's not feasible for them to do that. But, let me just take a step back before we, like, dive into summer. The way that our family has always looked at the calendar is we've always said that everyone gets a vote, meaning mom gets a vote, dad gets a vote, and our son gets a vote. And so, what things matter to me, the things that matter to me is I want to be able to go to book club once a month. I I like reading. Clearly, there are other things that mom likes to do. My husband likes to play golf and play tennis, and occasionally we do those together. So, just some examples of some things that I don't think that as parents we always put ourselves first.
Mhm. Good
And I don't think that's the right example to set for our kids to show them that, your schedule is going to rule the roost. It already does. It
point.
already is our priority. But building mom and dad in, I think, is an important example to set. So I will fall on my sword on that one. I really believe strongly in that. And so then when it would come to sort of the calendar, when my son was young, he said to me, he gave me this like laundry list of things he wanted to do. He started getting involved in activities in probably first grade. We were a little later than most families, and I think that was a good thing. And he said he had all these things he wanted to do. He said, but I want 2 days off, 2 days to be free off, which is a combination of free time and time off. And I said, okay, well, if you want 2 days off, we probably can't do all the things on this list. And so we would build like a mock calendar
Mm,
for the things that he was signing up for. And we would say that, swimming is Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning, and taekwondo is Tuesday, Thursday afternoon. And if you want to throw something else in, where's that going to fit? And how many nights off are you now going to have?
mm,
And then we'd also plug in the games over the weekend and just a mock calendar to see it all in one page. And I
mhm,
think with bigger families, that's incredibly important
mhm.
because then you can see like how much are we sort of two ships passing? How many is it feasible for mom to drive to three different soccer fields on one night? Probably not.
Right.
And so instead of creating the chaos, you are either intentionally choosing the chaos, which I'm in full support of, or you're saying, "You know what? We can do this better. We can do this differently. If we do this, I need to have a carpool 3 nights a week for these 2 kids." It's being more with everything with me is about being more intentional about what we choose. So how you
Mhm.
choose to spend your time, how you choose to spend your money, how much stuff you choose to bring into your home instead of just letting it accidentally happen
Right.
because you sign kids up for 3 different things and then you look at the calendar.
Right.
I encourage people to do it the other way around, and I think that that's very, very eye-opening. And then, as far as the summer goes, we always treated the summer what I called a blank canvas, and I told my son, usually signups for things in the fall were, like, in the May, June timeframe, and I would say, "All right, blank canvas, blank page. What do you wanna do in the fall? What trips do we as a family wanna take?" So we would ask those questions.
Mhm.
Are there new things that I wanted to try that mom and dad wanna try? Are the new things being added to our calendar? So we always use the school year as like a good reset. And I think a blank canvas is super important because I don't think kids always know to articulate things like, "Hey, I really don't like soccer, but I don't know how to tell my mom I don't like soccer because I sign up for it every year, but I don't really like it." And I think those thoughtful conversations are more important. We're teaching them boundaries, they're teaching them time management. And yeah, we could talk kids sports for a whole nother podcast. So I'll
Yeah.
I'll I'll slow
Yeah.
down on my soapbox there.
No, I completely agree. I completely agree. And when they're little, you want them to be involved as many things as they can be so they can learn what kinds of things they like. But as they get to kind of like high school, that's a really good time where they're either loving it or
Mhm.
not so much. And that's
Mhm.
actually a really good time for parents to ask themselves, are you wanting this for your child more than your child is wanting it for them?
100%. I
Because
think it's earlier than that too, Lisa. I think it that's about the time I feel like when kids start to have a little bit more of their own voice.
yeah.
I think it's earlier on where they wanna have that voice and they don't
Mhm.
know. They sign up for the thing because 'cause they've always signed up for the thing, and then you're 2 weeks into it and they're not loving it, or they're 2 weeks into it and they realize, "Yeah, it was a really bad idea to have 3 activities this season. I should have only had 1 or 2." But
Yeah.
they can't see that. Like, they
Right.
can't see this. I have this annoying strategic brain that sees 3 or 4 steps ahead, and kids typically can't can't see that. So I think starting the conversation earlier for what it's worth is
Yeah.
my advice. Yeah.
I agree, and I love your suggestion about creating a calendar and just, like, fleshing it out so the young ones can see, "This
Mhm.
is what your days will look like." Is that a day that you're excited for, or does that look overwhelming?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a wonderful and I love getting mom and dad on the calendar because yeah,
Yeah.
it does teach them to also to be there's so many things here. It teaches our kids to be considerate of other people's desires and other people's wants, that it's not
Yes.
a myopic view of just everything revolves around the child.
Right.
And this is something, my friends who are listening, this will save your marriage.
Yeah.
If you develop your calendar in a way that keeps you and your husband on it together, then
Oh
you're
my
not
gosh.
just the two ships that are passing in the night for 18 years and then the kids leave and all of a sudden you look at each other and you don't know who the other person is anymore. So this whole decluttering thing for the calendar and for the house goes actually a lot deeper than just a messy home or a crazy calendar. This is affecting our marriages and our personal relationships and our sanity, our stress, which then equates to our health. So it's like this ripple effect that affects
Yeah.
so many things.
I always say just about every podcast I'm on is it's about way more than the stuff. It's
Mhm.
all those things you just mentioned. Not just about simplifying the stuff in our homes, but it's about simplifying our calendars and simplifying what we do so we can focus on our health. It's about eliminating stress, getting a better night's sleep, being able to exercise more, create better relationships, actually say that our friendships are important to us and have our actions match. It's never just about the stuff. The ripple
Exactly.
effect to all these different areas of your life is I could argue so many, and we'd be here for a long time. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you and I could talk for hours and it would
I
be
know.
a very enjoyable thing.
Agreed, 100% agreed.
All right, so let's say that there's a couple listeners out there who are like, "Wow, all of this stuff is so resonating. I never even thought about decluttering my calendar. Wow, you know what? I can't even see those shelves anymore. They're so full of stuff." And yeah, I actually had to do a 3-point hurdle to get over the clothes that were piled up in my closet this
Yeah.
morning, just to say, where does somebody start with all of this stuff? Like if that's where they're at and they just have never really had it on their radar, how would you take a client and suggest they start?
Yeah, a lot of people who come to me are in that state of sort of overwhelm and paralysis and not knowing where to start. So the first piece of advice is that you have to do just that. You have to start. Like, you have to get in motion. And I think that our ability to estimate time as human beings is terrible. We either think it's going to take 3 times as long or we vastly underestimate. And so I don't think we always have a very good sense for how long things are going to take.
Mhm.
And what I also find my clients underestimate is how much they can get done in short periods of time.
Mm.
And they're always looking for this free weekend where if I just had a whole weekend, if I just had a whole month with no activities and nothing to do. Well, fun fact, we had the pandemic and people still have very cluttered homes. So that helped a lot of folks. I mean, I remember having conversations about people saying, "Gosh, now that there's no activities on the calendar, now that we're not going anywhere, I have the time to do this." And they were, some people did unload their homes. I think that was the rarity though, Lisa,
Mm.
honestly.
I
The
agree.
norm really is breaking this down into small projects. So you have to start. You have to start somewhere small and you have to start with your own stuff.
Mm.
And the reason I say start with your own stuff is because it's very easy to see everyone else's stuff in your home. I can to this day tell you about certain categories of stuff that belong to my son and belong to my husband. And yet, I've been on this journey for probably 17, 18 years, and I still have my own stuff. It doesn't like just because I did a lot of this work when Zach was little, doesn't mean that the maintenance ever stops. I mean, we still consume, we still purchase, we're much more intentional about how we purchase because that makes this easier. So being in maintenance mode is infinitely easier. But when you're just getting started, start in a small space and start with your own stuff. And I'm still dealing with my own stuff like 18 years later. So I promise that you have some. So like one category, one drawer, your purse, your car. something where you can see an immediate impact on your day,
Mm,
and that creates some motivation and kind of gets the momentum going. And so doing something that is easy and that is small and that you'll see every day is a great place to start. A junk drawer, a purse, a car, things like that.
yeah. Your
Dozens of other ideas
desktop,
I could give you. Yeah.
your desk, your kitchen counter. I love the car one because you're in the car.
Yeah.
It's just so peaceful to drive in a
Yes.
clean car.
Yeah. And the top of your desk, absolutely. When I start to talk to a client, if they're working on their home office, I'll often ask, where are you working? Are you sitting on the couch with your laptop? Are you sitting in the dining room with your laptop? Yes. How did you know? Well, because the home office, when it's so cluttered, it's not productive. We just don't want to be here. And so folks will just take their laptop and they'll avoid the home office altogether. And
Mm,
so one of the first spaces that kind of allows them to come back in is the top of the desk. If you
mm,
can clear off the desk and you can have some wings space, as I call it, I have space over here for my planner. I have space over here for my notebook, having a little bit of space to actually do the work, which is why so many people choose their dining room table. So,
exactly. I love that you said, start small, start with your own things
yeah.
because that action breeds more motivation. When you have a couple of successes, the car's clean, the junk drawer that you can never find anything in finally is clean. Your desk, wow, you've got room on your desk, you can set something down. And all
Mhm.
of a sudden it's like, wow, I want to do more. And so it does kind of create
It's
this momentum.
contagious. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's completely contagious, absolutely. I was just working with a client and we did just that, like, we were pulling she was pulling everything out of the kitchen cabinets, just this one kitchen cabinet in particular, and we were talking through it, and she said, "Well, I have components to the Cuisinart over there." And I said, "Well, maybe it'd be better to have all that stuff together." She goes, "Yeah." And then she realized, and I have the components to the mixer, not with the mixer. And it kind of had this domino effect.
Hmm.
But by starting in one space that she could start and finish and have a completed product, then she went on to the next cabinet. Then she went on to the next cabinet. And this wasn't like a crazy amount of time. She didn't have to spend an entire weekend doing her kitchen. But what she did was she broke it down into smaller spaces, into smaller sections, stuff that she could accomplish in a 25-minute timer
Mm,
easily. It's a great way to do it. Set a timer for 25 minutes. When the timer goes off, take a 5-minute break, come back to it, set another 25-minute timer. And that helps to keep you focused too. And that's like an achievable amount of time that most people can find.
for sure. I love that. The kitchen one is a big one for me. When we first moved into our home, we kind of put everything away, and I will say it was organized. I had all the glasses in one place, all the plates in one place, all of the Cuisinart things were together, all the blender parts were together. It was all good. But what I noticed is every time I was putting dishes away from the dishwasher, I would walk here for that, and I would walk over there for that, and I would have to walk over there for that. And I thought, why don't I just put all of those things in these 4 cupboards that are right by the dishwasher
Yeah.
and use those other cupboards for canned goods or whatever it might be.
Mhm.
And that way, when I'm putting the dishwasher items away, it's all right here. It's kind of
Yeah.
like, the companies like FedEx and UPS and those kinds of companies. Those companies spend millions of dollars fine tuning their processes to
Oh,
save
yeah.
like a fraction of a second
Oh, yeah.
because over the course of time, it's going to add up. So now, well, I don't need to save a fraction of a second, but if I can make the process of putting dishes away a little easier,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, it's about removing some of that resistance.
right.
And it's the difference between you saying, "I have 5 minutes right now to unload the dishwasher, and I can get it done in 5 minutes
Hmm.
if I move quickly," versus knowing that project tends to take more like 10 minutes and just putting it off and putting it
Yeah.
off and, "Oh, I'll get to it tonight. Okay, now I'm trying to make dinner and unload the dishwasher and do all the things." I
Hmm.
love efficiency,
Hmm.
and so I love hearing that you did that and that you made that change. There's so many people I work with who won't adjust the shelf height.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
they'll often say to me, "Well, that's the way the shelves were when we moved in." I'm like, and I can even see it on a Zoom. I can see it over in a photo. I'll say, "Those shelves are adjustable." Like,
Yeah.
adjust the shelves? It's this foreign concept. So I love that you thought through,
Mhm.
like, what is a better setup for doing so? And most kitchens are designed with like that triangle from, from the sink to the stove to the counter. So they do
Mhm.
have that design to them
Yeah.
intentionally. And so I love that you took the time to think of it and actually move stuff around. I
Yeah.
had one of my clients when I was still working in homes. I mostly do coaching now, but I moved this one piece. It was a charcuterie board. It
Mhm.
was huge, and they had been fighting with finding a spot for it in their kitchen for probably 15 years.
Oh my goodness.
And I rearranged a few cabinets, and he said, "That change alone was worth the whole day." It
Saved our marriage.
yes, I think it might have. I think it might have. But it was just this one piece that they were really fighting with. And I also think, there are times when I'll look at a space and I just look at it very differently because I haven't been living in it.
Mm.
Your items, they take up residence. You
Mhm.
stop questioning where they live. Like the things I'm looking at in your background that sit on your desk, you don't really question their existence there.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so what really helps in a space like that is just taking everything out
Mhm.
and then reevaluating how you're gonna return it. So we call it in my coaching, I call it remove, reduce, return. So remove all the items, and I get the most resistance on, do I really need to take it all out? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
Maybe just for one section of cabinets, but take it all out, look at it in a different light. It helps you make a lot more decisions about donating when suddenly you've moved everything to a different table and you're seeing it in a different light and you're
Mm.
realizing you don't need, three cookie cutters of the same shape, and you don't have that appliance anymore. So you don't need that part. It just reveals things
Mhm.
that you don't see by just absorbing it in the cabinet.
Yeah.
And then when we put it back, that's where the magic happens.
Mhm.
That's where, I put something back in a cabinet that no one had ever considered in 15 years. Um, and it was apparently life-changing, which is cool.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Yeah, no, we've got the dishwasher thing down to I think I got 3 minutes now, Amy. 3 minutes, I
Oh,
get that thing
so
emptied.
good.
But
So
part of that
good.
is also the way I load it. I load it in a way where I can take things
Mhm.
out. I can take all 10 plates out at the same time because they're all in a row. Just grab
Oh,
them.
it's
So
so
it's
awesome.
just so efficient. I do love that.
Yes, I'm a big fan. There's this rule called the 2-minute rule,
Mm.
and I talk about it a lot in the spirit of organizing. Because so often I think we pile stuff. We set stuff down and we say, "I'll deal with that later, I'll deal with that
Mhm.
later," and clutter attracts clutter.
Mhm.
Flat surfaces are a huge clutter magnet, and before you know it, you've got a whole pile of stuff on a counter. And so the 2-minute rule basically states if it takes 2 minutes, do it right away. So if it takes 2 minutes to put something away, do it right away.
Mhm.
I often have said that you could unload the dishwasher in 2 minutes, and you're kind of proving my point by saying you do it in about 3. So I do think that what happens with that 2-minute rule, though, honestly, is you start to stretch it a little bit. You start to just shift your mindset
Uh-huh.
and you start to say, all right, it'll take me 5 minutes to go upstairs and put these 5 pair of shoes away because that's where they belong
Right?
versus letting more and more just pile up here in the mudroom. It's
Yeah.
time to put those away. And while you can't do that all the time, it's just that mindset shift around the 2-minute rule that I
Mhm.
think it's not about how long it takes, it's more about the mindset shift.
So true. So true. All right, so we're gonna start small. We're gonna start with our own stuff.
Mhm.
What was the third one of those? Start small
And start in spaces you use daily is what I
and
usually s
yeah,
so
start with
spaces
space.
that you see most often, yeah.
Yeah, so such good advice. I love it. How about the calendar? What would be your recommendation for how to start creating some space in the calendar?
I think that I think it's around the opportunities and the invitations that you receive.
Okay.
I
Mhm.
think that it's really taking a step back when you're asked to do something and not giving a real quick response of, "Absolutely, I'll do that."
Mhm.
But rather taking a pause and saying, "Let me check my calendar. Let me get back to you," and then actually do that. You don't keep people hanging. That's one of my biggest pet peeves.
Right
If
on.
you're invited to a party, say no immediately if it just doesn't fit within your schedule. Respond quickly. If someone has asked you to participate in something and you're feeling very half-hearted about it, you can say, it's not my season for that right now. But I think it's taking a beat when there is something that either you could add to your calendar or someone else is asking you to add to your calendar.
Mhm.
And getting clear on what those values are that you value. If your faith is important and you're asked to do something on Sunday morning, the answer is probably no, because you're going to church.
Mhm.
But are you apt to say yes just because you wanna say yes to everything and you're not putting it through some of those filters? Some people will call it, like, non-negotiables. Like,
Mm.
what are your non-negotiables on your calendar?
Mhm.
And, for me, that's when Zach has spring break.
Mhm.
I don't meet with coaching clients that
Mhm.
week. I'm doing
Mhm.
something with him. I'm all in with him. Sunday morning is church for my husband and I. We have other non-negotiables as far as our own family calendar. And I think going back to that conversation we were having about mom gets a vote, dad gets a vote, kids get a vote, but where is the space for the 3 of you or the 4 of you or the 6 of you together? When
Mhm.
when my son was at home, we really had a goal of, I think, 3 to 4 nights of family dinners. And
Mm.
when I tell people that and that we achieved it, they're shocked because they're going so many different directions. They barely get 1 night a week as a
Wow.
family dinner.
Mm.
And, that just, just saddens me. So, because
Mhm.
that is something actually my son has mentioned that
Mm.
he misses about college, is
Mm.
that he really enjoyed family dinners. So, I feel like I did that one right. Um,
Yes, I
so
applaud you. I applaud
hope
you on that.
hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, yeah, it does. I love what you had said, and this is what the resonating theme that comes out to me when you're talking about your calendar is that you do it with such intention. You're
Yeah,
very intentional about the things you must have in there, and you're intentional about the things that you consider adding. So I love that
right.
it's not accidentally getting full of stuff. It's
No.
very intentional.
Yes, 100% intentional. So true.
Yeah.
Good
Well,
stuff.
Amy, we're gonna have to have you back quarterly because I just love our conversations. And I think it's
Me too.
something that everybody needs to constantly, it's a maintenance thing. Like you said, we're constantly bringing things into the house, into the calendar, into our lives. And we need to
Mhm.
also be cognizant and intentional about
Yeah.
what things we push back out and keep some space for ourselves. So,
Anytime. I'm happy to come back. You let me know.
all right. Thank you again. Nice to have you.
Thank you.
Amy is so amazing. Now you know why I had to have her back. And I have 8 very well organized takeaways for you today. Number 1, clutter is anything that gets in the way of the life you want to live. Amy reminds us that clutter isn't just the stuff on the floor or the junk in your garage. It's anything, physical or emotional, that's standing in the way between you and the life that you feel called to live. For some, it's a disorganized closet, but others, it's an overcommitted calendar. Whatever your version is, the goal is the same. Make a clear path to the life that fits your values and really brings you joy. Number 2, letting go of one thing can create space for something else, something better. Whether it's stepping back from a volunteer role or clearing out that overstuffed kitchen drawer, releasing what no longer serves you creates room for peace, for purpose, and even allows room for other people to rise and shine and serve in a way that they wouldn't have if that open space wasn't made available. Amy reminds us that stepping down isn't a sign that you can't do it all. It's opening up the doors for others to step up and grow while you intentionally choose what to put into your next chapter. Number 3, boundaries create freedom. Amy filters all of her commitments through 5 intentional values: faith, family, friends, health, and generosity. If a request comes into her life that doesn't align, she lets it go. Boundaries are not barriers. They're tools that help us protect what matters most and allows us to give our best energy to the people and the priorities that really matter most to us. Number 4, you do not need to overhaul everything all at once. Just start somewhere. When you're overwhelmed and you're not sure where to begin, Amy's advice is to start small, start with your own stuff, and start with things that you see or use every single day. So, one drawer, one bag, or one purse, the front seat of your car maybe. Choose something that makes a visible impact on your daily life. Starting small creates a win that you can feel immediately, and the momentum will make you want to keep on going. Number 5, want to tame your calendar? Choose intention over accident. Most of us end up filling up our time accidentally, saying yes without even pausing to ask whether this is a good season for that next thing, or whether it aligns with our values, and whether we have time right now for one more thing. Well, Amy challenges us to flip our reflex response and design our schedule based on our values and goals. So before you say yes to something new, pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, does this new thing really align with what matters to me and my family most right now? That will allow you to fill your calendar intentionally. Number 6, blank space is not wasted space. Amy and her family treat the summer calendar like a blank canvas, making room for creative ideas, rest, and adventure. That blank space is really powerful. It allows us to look at things with fresh eyes and lets the kids have permission to opt out of something that they're really no longer excited to do. It also gives parents a chance to listen more closely to their kids and understand what it is that they really want to spend their time doing. Number 7, overwhelm starts when we expect perfection and delay action. Amy says people wait for the perfect day or the perfect open weekend or maybe the perfect open month where they finally have no events and they can just jump into that project. But life rarely, if ever, hands us a gift like that with uninterrupted open space. So instead of waiting for that perfect open day, break down that big project into smaller pieces. Focus on making progress in a small space. In maybe 1 hour of time, just carve out 1 hour, get as much done as you can do in that 1 hour. Give yourself permission to move forward imperfectly with baby steps. And if you do that consistently, everything will eventually get done. And finally, number 8, use the 2-minute rule and stop postponing things. Amy says if it takes 2 minutes or less, just do it and get it done now. Whether it's tossing a receipt or hanging up a coat or putting some shoes away, these small decisions add up to a big impact. Amy reminds us that it's not even really about those 2 minutes. It's about shifting your mindset so you can stay in motion and prevent that clutter from creeping back in, or the small pile to grow into a bigger pile so big that it really does start to overwhelm you. Thank you so much, friends, for listening today. And if you want to reach out to Amy Slenker-Smith to work with her and start making space in your own life again, please check out the show notes here for her links and her free offers. You will be so glad you did. And if you would, take a moment to share this episode because you never know what kinds of organization tips could be in this conversation that someone else really needs to hear. So pass it along, share it, like it, and subscribe. Let's work together to flood the world with more encouragement. Until next time, my friends, stay encouraged, be inspired. We'll see you right back here next time at the Sunshine Cafe.